I'm gonna mute my. Okay, now. Yeah, it's working now. All right. Oh well, there you go. Live events. Hold on, I'm gonna drop the link on LinkedIn for those that were. Just give me 1 second, then we'll be back with scheduled programming. Okay, just 1 second. So I just as I just calmed down from that slight heart attack I just had, I am going to post this link on LinkedIn, and we will be back. Just give me 1 second, and apologies. Well, a warm welcome to everybody now that you can hear me. So, a perfect example there of live events versus pre-recorded videos. Something to consider when you are going into the world of podcasting. Will you be doing it live or will you pre-record? So there's a perfect test case, but let me compose myself and get back to the event tonight. So, okay. So, yes, perfect, wonderful. So, welcome everybody. Yes, my name is John Hode. I am a marketing and branding expert here in the wonderful, if not slightly chilly Berlin. I'm going to say a big welcome to those of you that are joining from YouTube, those who are joining from LinkedIn with the brand new link, those fellow alumni from First Friday. And a big welcome to my mother, who I don't believe is watching this at this point. She's probably wondering why the other link is not working, but she expressed an interest in starting a podcast for her local women's institute. That would be interesting. I think they'll be reviewing Jam. So this will be a presentation for everybody, and I am going to be your captain, sailing the somewhat turbulent seas as we've just witnessed. Seas of podcasting. And without further ado, let me start my presentation. So, podcasting in Europe is no longer niche, it's part of everyday media habits. Well, 10 out of 10 for stating the obvious. Yes, podcasting is everywhere. It's particularly growing in the UK. So everybody, celebrities, politicians, regular Joes were starting podcasts. They really took up speed in 2020 during the Couth. And there's a reason why I refer to it as the Couth. I'll explain more towards the end. But it is a wonderful marketing tool in your marketing toolkit for a personal connection with your customers, your clients, anybody out there in the World Wide Web that you want to connect with and share your knowledge, share your passions, share your interests if it's your startup, your personal brand, your business. But I don't think I need to sell you the benefits of a podcast. I am here as your captain to show you how to start one. And with these tips, theoretically speaking, you could start one tomorrow. So let's have a So here is our list, which I will go through step by step, but like with any new project, with any event that you want to do, you always have to start by being organized. So get out your notepad and pen or open a fresh Excel sheet and start to think about these topics before we begin. So mic and headphones. So I want to show you, I've brought some things show in from my recording studio, let's say. So here are headphones with a mic. I am using Bose headphones with a built-in mic. I absolutely love these. These are really good. Headphones is something you may not require if you're doing an in-studio podcast. So if you are in a studio talking to a camera, you won't necessarily need headphones. But if you are doing remote interviews or online interviews, for example, headphones are obviously very essential. We know this from our online meetings of the past. You need them headphones. So also another thing to remember is podcasting on YouTube, which is what we're focusing on today, is a visual has a visual element to it too. So you want to give a nice professional look with a good set of headphones and a good mic. The mic I'm using right now is built into my headphones, which makes things a little easier for live events like this. But here is one of my favorites. This is a Rode microphone. You will see many podcasters and YouTubers use this particular piece of equipment. And what's a good tip is when you're organizing this, you can use a simple microphone that you could plug into your iPhone, or you could go and spend a bit of your budget on something professional, depending on the level of how you're going into it. If this is a hobby and you're doing it on a minimal budget, you could just use the mic on the iPhone, or you could buy a very inexpensive microphone. There's some really wonderful microphones that you can plug into iPhones, but if you want to go in, or if you're doing it with a company and the company has a bit more of a budget, you could go in for some really nice Rode microphones there. But have a look around, shop around and see what the best prices are on these things. But the next thing we have on our list, which lights and camera. So with the iPhone is incredibly good. When I was making videos for YouTube last few years, I always used an iPhone and I used lights that were available in my apartment. I didn't actually use any particular lighting, and I think that was a mistake. I think a good lit, so here in this little studio that I've set up, I'm using a standard lamp for a bit of light at the back, but then I treated myself to the influencer's favorite, a ring light. I picked it up rather inexpensively, and it gives a really nice glow, a really nice look. Because when I was doing it in the past, the lighting wasn't something great. And I just want to take a moment. I just want to show you something. This is a YouTuber that I am a big fan of, and I really like how he lights things. If you just give me 1 second. So this is some of the best lighting. It's a bit moody. He manages to light just enough of himself, but he has a very wonderful stage setting ability. And I think this might not give the feel of a more professional corporate podcast, but if you're doing something, he tells wonderful stories about marketing failures and egregious marketing personnel, and he has a wonderful storytelling ability. And I've always really liked how he. Anyway, that's just something personal I wanted to share there. But if you look at YouTubers, if you look at some inspiration of how they light these things, another thing I'd like to show from my something I'm not using right now because I'm not using an iPhone, but a really nice tripod. So that goes with the camera. So let's pause for a second and just say, so what level are we going in at? Are we doing this on a minimal budget? Are we doing this as more of a hobby? Then an iPhone, a simple mic is something, maybe a ring light, or is this going to be a bigger project? Is this something that's going to be part of a big marketing push for like a bigger company, for example, and you want to go in with a studio with more professional lighting and a real nice Canon camera? That's something why we have this little list to jot down and see what investment you want to do with these. But let's look at the next point here, software. Now, this is important. You have shot your footage, you have recorded it, it's beautifully. You've made a really nice, you've captured some really good films. Maybe you have multiple cameras, so you have your B-roll and your actual roll. But the question is now, how are we going to put it all together? Are you going to upload the raw file? Something you can do, of course. Or going to edit it. And the software I use is iMovie. I think that comes with every Mac. I'm not sure what the Windows equivalent is. But Adobe Premiere Pro is something I loved using, and that's where you can really get deep into this thing. For example, you might want some nice music at the beginning. You want your logo. If you have guests, you'll want their names underneath. You might want a watermark in the corner. You might have some cool transitions you can do. You might want to put footage if the person won an award, for example, and you're inviting them on to your podcast to speak. You might want to play them collecting their award as some footage as they're introducing themselves. And this will all be needed to be done in some editing software. So that's another thing you need to focus on. So we have the mic, the headphones, the lights, the camera, the editing software. So these are you're writing down your ideas and what level you want to go in at. A recording room. So this is very, very important. And this is something when I was about, I found a little bit of a challenge. So there's two reasons why a good recording room needs to be thought about. For example, there's the obvious. So if you are recording in an empty room, for example, there'll be a rather large echo. So you want to have a designated spot, ideally, which has like a lot of furniture, the soundproofing, for example. But also, it's your set. You know, it's if you look at many YouTubers, they have the classic bookcase behind them. They have the plant. If you set this room up, if you're lucky enough to have a spare room, or if you are working for a company that has a studio set up, If you set that room up perfectly and then leave it, it will make your podcasting so much easier because you'll have that room ready. What I had to do is rebuild a studio every time because I didn't really have a designated space. So I would be working, I'd come home, I'd be tired, and I'd be like, oh, I really need to shoot a video tonight. I want to keep consistent. I then would have to put away the kitchen table, pull out the tripod, pull out the lights. So if you can, to make things easy for yourself, have an area that you set up, either a spare room or a corner of your apartment that you can keep set for a studio or for a designated space to record. It will make your life a lot easier. If you can't do this, what a good practice is, this is something I used to do, set it up in the morning, shoot quite a bit of footage, maybe do work on multiple podcasts, and then at the end of the day, you break it all back down again. So a nice designated dressed room is something on our list that needs to be thought about and organized. Guidebook. Now, as somebody with a deep interest, I swear by. This doesn't have to be a literal book, but you need to get that notepad and paper out again. You need to open up a Google Doc and just write down what your brand rules are, what fonts you're going to use in the advertising on the thumbnail, what colors do you want with your podcast. Now, as you can see, I'm a big fan of neon pink and blacks with grays as a secondary color. So this is something. What kind of feel do you want from this podcast? Do you want something quite relaxed, easygoing? Do you want something very corporate? Do you want something quite dynamic? This is all good branding. Branding is actually another live stream that I'm going to offer, but in our list of organizing, it's something to keep in mind. And then our final point, again, this is a point that will be discussed, but marketing budget. So this is not just about, is about promotion. So we will be thinking about, do we want to promote any of these videos? Do we want to push any of them with a financial backing? Do we want to maybe seed out some of our videos promoted? This is something, and maybe you have a zero marketing budget. Maybe you just want to rely on organic reach, which is completely fine. But when it comes to buying the equipment and possible marketing promotions on the platforms that you're going to post this on, it's something to take into consideration. So we have our list, we have things organized. We're looking at what we need, what we already have, what we can borrow, what we could potentially buy secondhand, what our company finances will allow us to purchase, or maybe they have it already organized. But we move to the next part. So we need to think about what it is the podcast is going to be about. I will be taking from good friend Ika. We will be making a podcast this year that we need to think about when it comes to our content strategy. So, building a content backlog, ideas, questions, myths. What are we going to be? So, for example, with our podcast, Ika will be repairing equipment that vintage equipment that he's sourced on eBay, coffee makers, KitchenAids, bringing in things that are broken, opening them up, fixing them, and hopefully getting them working again. That's the idea. So, are we going to talk about the history of the products? Are we going to talk about topical products? Am I going to talk, or is it just going to be Ika sharing his thoughts with people? That's what we need to think. Is it going to be like a tutorial, a step-by-step guide on how you too can repair things, or how are we going to do it? Something to think about. And then we come to our sets of color content pillars. Clear focus themes. We don't want to be fixing KitchenAids, talking about marketing topics, and then the next episode all of a sudden switch to talking about crypto. We want to have a theme run across. So for this podcast, we'll be repairing things. We'll be talking about the history of the products or the typical problems people have, and we'll be offering helpful suggestions for people that might have repair things they want to do, and maybe they're not familiar with what they need to be a restorer. That's the kind of things we'll be writing down and staying to. Research demands. So this is an interesting one, checking trends and keywords. So if you are wanting to do this as a passion project, this might not be something that you're so focused on. But if you're doing this as a marketing activity, especially if you're doing it for your company, you might want to look at what trends are trending right now. And you can do this on Google Trends. That's something you can use. And just, for example, if there is a topic like the Olympics, that's something that's obviously getting out right now and getting a lot of talk. So if you are a health and fitness podcast, why don't you do an Olympic special? Because you are now hooking yourself onto a trend topic, and the algorithms love trending topics. So this is something like if you are a health and fitness company, then you could do a podcast about your predictions for the Olympics. And there you have a good branded way of bringing in your products. And it's trending and it will help push in the algorithm. Prioritize and plan. This is very important. So, how often are you going to do these podcasts? Are you going to do them once a week, once a month, every 2 months? Whatever capability you feel you have to be able to produce these, because, and I'm going to say this very clearly, consistency is key. If you make a podcast a week and you do it for 2 months, you're building up an audience that are expecting these videos on a Thursday. You're training the algorithm to know that your videos are available on Thursday. If you disappear for 3 months, then your customers are going to get annoyed, or your viewers are going to get annoyed that there's no new videos, and YouTube will penalize if you are missing your rhythm. So ask yourself the question, how much capacity do I have to do this? Then we go to batch record sessions. This goes perfectly hand in hand with prioritize and plan. So you want to make sure that you have a few backup videos. If you are planning a vacation, if you're planning on taking a break, if you are sick, if your guest cancels at the last minute, if you have some backup episodes, then that will make things easier for you to keep to that schedule that you've agreed. And then title and thumbnails first. This is going to be part of another live stream where we talk about good thumbnail practice. As you will see in the next part, I want to share with you a thing here, another YouTuber that I find particularly good thumbnail game. It's a Legal Eagle, and maybe some of you know him, but he has a really nice branding to his YouTube. You can see there a really nice backboard with the name, a nice logo. His thumbnails are all following a theme. They use the same fonts, they use the same colors. You know, he has his guest presenters there. He has a really nice description, really nice thumbnails, and the description. And if you look at the bottom, this is when he first started. He's a lawyer, as you can probably imagine, and he did some really cool episodes where he would react to Suits. So he would talk about how the TV show Suits, whether it was legally correct or not. So great idea, great concept, great thumbnails. Just wanted to share that with you as inspiration for the thumbnail part. Now we return to our presentation. Branding. So I just mentioned it here. Here is the First Friday YouTube channel. It's just starting, hence the one video, but you can see the branding is on point there. We have First Friday, Zero to Hero. We have Start Your Startup, the very call to action kind of language there. We have the blues and the reds. It's all coherent. It tells a story. It uses great language. If you click on the more button on the channel, so this is a little bit of a Frankenstein post here because I took Legal Eagles links at the bottom there because we don't have any currently on the channel. But you can see a nice description of First Friday, what it is, what it offers. And then at the bottom there, we have the links, or what we will have links to the Instagram, the TikTok, the Facebook page, whatever, the meetup sign up, whatever links you want to have there. Also, another good practice. So you've shot your video, you've got a really nice thumbnail, you're uploading it onto YouTube. Anybody with a knowledge of SEO will know how important it is to have a good description using keywords. So here's an example from one of my old videos. I was doing a video on the concept of whether brands are special. It's a word that a lot of brands use. We are special. And I was simply asking the question, what makes something special? Maybe I could have chosen a more catchier title there in the thumbnail, but we're just practicing around. And as you can see in the description, I put a very rich keyword optimized description there because when people are searching for these videos and they're searching for the topics on marketing, on branding, with the right keywords, there's more chance of it appearing at the top of their search. So when you're talking, let's go back to Ika and I's podcast, we're going to be talking about KitchenAid, for example, then we want to make sure we're listing the KitchenAid, the model. We're talking about it being repaired. We're talking about issues they may have. So when somebody's going to YouTube and searching for problems with KitchenAids because of our setup and our good description, the keywords will, the video has more chance of it being shown at the top of the ranking pages. So another thing there with your descriptions. Hashtags, yes, they can be used on LinkedIn and YouTube, but like most social media sites now, hashtags aren't as impactful as they once were. It's more about the metadata in the description. And now we're going to talk about promotion, organic reach promotions. So let's pause for a second. We've made the video. It's taken us a whole weekend to produce it. We rearranged the. Okay, are you able to see the screen now? When there's a transition from me sharing my screen, sometimes there is a little bit of a pause, but I'm assuming it's showing now. So, yep, okay, wonderful. So you've made the video, you've invested the time. It's out there on YouTube, getting views, wonderful. Everything's great, but we want to maximize our return on investment, especially the time investment. Shorts are a very interesting thing that YouTube is pushing. It's been pushing them over the last couple of years now. But YouTube had to have a bit of a think about what it wants to be now in the world of social media because TikTok really captured, and Reels captured the short video format, especially on mobile. So YouTube offered shorts. What's great about these shorts is you can take that 45-minute video that you shot and you can chop it up into bite-sized pieces. You can take interesting points that were said and post them onto shorts. And what I noticed is with my videos, I was getting 100, 200, 300 views, which was not much. But when I posted it on shorts, sometimes I get 10,000 views on a short alone. And that drove subscribers, it drove traffic to my main page. So your shorts are wonderful ways of grabbing people and bringing them to explore more on the main page. And they're very simple to do. If you go to your video on the mobile, you can do this on the browser, but it's really super simple to do it on the mobile. You will see edit into a short. If you select this, then you go into like a TikTok interface where you can cut up the video and make shorts from it. What's also great about that is you can go into your backend and download the short and post it on LinkedIn, post it on Instagram, post it on TikTok, all with links back to the original YouTube video. A wonderful way of recycling and maximizing the energy and time that you put into this video. Another little tip I want to share with you about, so the obvious Instagram, Facebook, but one that might not be so obvious is Substack. This is a social media site that's really picking up a lot of traction in 2026. And for marketers, this will be something incredibly important going forward. And what you can do with your YouTube video is you can download the transcript, copy and paste that transcript into Substack, and then you now have a readable version of your podcast. So people that would like to read rather than listen to, you're showing it on Substack, and it's not taking any extra energy, just the transcript, then tidied up and then posted on Substack. So another little tip for you there. So that was our foundation, our simple tips and tricks to get you off and going. But the future of these podcast lives is we're going to offer, the look and the feel. So we're going to go a bit deeper. The art of the perfect thumbnail. There are people in the marketing world that are thumbnail artists. That's their speciality. It really is a fine art to this. So we want to look at the practical, look at the visuals. What kind of, are you going to be on the thumbnail? How are we going to do it? What's the text? What's the color? So when people see these thumbnails against all the other different thumbnails that they could choose to click, they will click yours. Then we'll look at, we need to have a conversation, how to choose topic, trend tracking, build a sustainable schedule. And if you remember at the beginning, I said the word COOF, which is algo speak for, well, I think it's late enough into the video to say it now without it being repressed, the pandemic. Interestingly, if you say topics like this, especially near the start of the video, you can have your views reduced. So that's something that we'll be looking at in that particular live stream. And then the one at the end, turning up the volume, paid promotions, budget management, running tests. Can you grow a YouTube just off organic reach alone? In this landscape right now, that's getting increasingly harder to do, but we'll look at some tips and tricks if you are looking at a minimal budget. Finally, well, I would like to say a huge thank you to First Friday for hosting me this evening for a podcast guide. If you are interested in startups, in business in general, if you want to meet a great bunch of people with the host with the most, Alejandro, then it's the first Friday of every month apart from January in Berlin. See the meetup page for more information. And before I go, I did promise you a little surprise. He is making his debut on TikTok, and I'd like him to play me out with his video here.
You're an expat entrepreneur living here in Germany because you want to build your career here, your professional life, and grow financially. This is what you have to know. 10 things. You should write it down. If you want to live, and where you want to live, and what you want to do, well, this is like a ship without a captain. There will be never, ever favorable winds. Set goals. What do you really want? Right? Okay, so this is what you want to do, your private goals.
Come on.
What do you want to do professionally? Yeah? And what are your financial goals?
And there we go. Watch out, TikTok. There is a new player in town. So thank you so much for everybody who joined me this evening. The PDF will be available on my LinkedIn afterwards. And all that's left to say is a huge thank you and take care, everybody.